artificial intelligence is not inherently good or evil. It is a tool, an amplifier of human intentions. Whatever we feed into AI, it will magnify and accelerate. If we use it to cure diseases, optimize resources, and expand human potential, it will revolutionize our world for the better. But if it falls into the hands of those who seek control, deception, or greed, it will become a weapon unlike anything we have ever seen. AI doesn't create morality, it reflects it, it takes what we give it and scales it beyond what any human mind could achieve alone. The danger isn't in the code itself, it's in the people writing it, the systems deploying it, and the oversight or lack thereof governing it. AI will not wake up one day and decide to manipulate elections, censor voices, or spread disinformation. But it will do those things if programmed, either directly or indirectly, to prioritize certain outcomes. And because AI moves faster than human cognition, the consequences can be instant, widespread, and irreversible before anyone realizes what has happened. Think about how misinformation spreads today. A single fabricated story, a fake image, or a deep fake video can go viral in minutes, swaying public opinion, disrupting markets, or even triggering conflicts. Now imagine an AI system optimized to create deception at scale, churning out millions of hyper-targeted, completely convincing false narratives tailored to different demographics, each designed to manipulate the way people think, vote, or act. That is not science fiction. That is a reality we are already facing. On the flip side, AI can be the most powerful truth-seeking tool humanity has ever built. It can analyze vast amounts of data to detect fraud, uncover corruption, and expose hidden patterns that humans might overlook. Imagine AI that monitors financial transactions in real time, identifying money laundering operations before they escalate. Picture an AI watchdog that cross-references political statements with historical data, immediately flagging inconsistencies and misinformation. The same force that can be used to deceive can also be used to protect, but only if we build it with that intention. This is why AI is a force multiplier. It doesn't just add to our capabilities, it exponentially enhances them. It turns small biases into systemic discrimination, minor deceptions into global disinformation campaigns, and individual power plays into mass influence operations. At the same time, if built with integrity, AI can take isolated acts of truth-seeking and scale them into worldwide accountability systems. It can take a single whistleblower's discovery and use it to scan entire industries for unethical behavior. It can take one investigative journalist's work and apply it to uncover hidden networks of corruption at an unprecedented level. The key to this equation is who controls AI and for what purpose. History has shown us that technology follows the incentives of those who wield it. The printing press spread both enlightenment and propaganda. The internet connected humanity, but also enabled cybercrime, misinformation, and digital surveillance. AI is no different. It will empower the hands that program it, whether those hands belong to truth seekers or manipulators. The defining factor will be our willingness to demand transparency, accountability, and ethical frameworks before AI reaches a point where we can no longer control its impact. But here's where the challenge gets even more complex. AI learns from the world as it is, not as it should be. It absorbs human biases, institutional flaws, and systemic corruption unless we actively intervene. If we train AI on a broken system, it will only reinforce and scale that brokenness. It won't question corruption unless we teach it to. It won't prioritize truth unless we make that the foundation of its design. The responsibility, therefore, is not just on developers, but on society as a whole to demand that AI serves truth rather than distorting it. So the real question is, will AI be the greatest tool for human advancement, or will it accelerate corruption beyond our control? The answer depends entirely on the people building it, the people regulating it, and the people willing to stand up before it's too late. Corruption starts with small compromises. Corruption is rarely an explosive, dramatic event that happens overnight. It doesn't begin with grand betrayals or massive scandals. Instead, it starts in the smallest, quietest ways. A decision to look the other way, an excuse to bend the rules just this once, a rationalization that cutting a small ethical corner won't really make a difference. But once that first compromise is made, the second one comes easier, the third even easier, and before long what started as a minor deviation becomes a slippery slope toward full-scale corruption. This is how powerful organizations, governments, and even individuals lose their way. No company is founded with the goal of deceiving its customers. No leader starts out intending to betray their people. They begin with ambition, with vision, with promises of something better. But then come the pressures, the investors who demand higher returns, the board members who push for quicker results, the competitors who are cutting their own corners. The temptation grows, and the moment someone tells themselves, everyone else is doing it, so why shouldn't I? The real damage begins. Most people think corruption is about greed, but it's actually about survival. It's about fear. Fear of losing funding, fear of falling behind, fear of being overtaken by someone who is willing to break the rules when you aren't. The problem is, once you justify even the smallest act of dishonesty, you open the door to more. A company may start by tweaking a metric to look better on paper. A politician may accept a small favor in exchange for an endorsement. A researcher may ignore inconvenient data that contradicts their hypothesis. Each step feels insignificant, but each one builds upon the last. In the world of AI, this is even more dangerous because when corruption is encoded into an algorithm, it doesn't just affect one person or one decision. It scales. If a financial AI system is programmed to slightly favor certain transactions over others, it can quietly shift billions of dollars over time. If a search engine subtly suppresses certain viewpoints, it can manipulate public perception without anyone realizing it. If a government deploys AI surveillance with just a few extra permissions, it can evolve into a system of mass control. And all of it starts with a single compromise that was justified as necessary. This is why corruption is so hard to fight. It never announces itself as corruption. It hides under the mask of efficiency, optimization, and progress. People justify it by saying this is just how the game is played. They convince themselves that their small act of dishonesty is actually for the greater good. And because those small decisions don't immediately lead to catastrophic consequences, people feel safe making them. But over time, they add up. They accumulate like cracks in a dam, unseen until the moment the entire structure collapses. The most dangerous form of corruption is the one that feels reasonable. When leaders manipulate numbers to make their companies seem more successful, they tell themselves they're just buying time to fix the real problem. When AI developers tweak algorithms to favor certain outcomes, they argue that they're just helping users find what they really want. When employees go along with unethical practices, they justify it by thinking, if I don't do it, someone else will. This is how entire industries lose their integrity, one rationalization at a time. The worst part, by the time corruption becomes undeniable, it's often too late. The culture has already shifted, the system has already been built on those compromises, and those who try to stand against it face immense resistance because now too many people benefit from keeping the lie alive. Whistleblowers are silenced, ethical voices are pushed out, and what was once considered unthinkable becomes the norm. So when we talk about corruption, we have to stop thinking about it as a distant problem that only happens in governments or corporations. It starts in the smallest moments, with the smallest choices. It starts with one person deciding whether to do what's right or what's easy, and that single moment can define everything that follows. Technology in its purest form has no agenda. It does not possess morality, bias, or intent. It is a mirror, one that reflects the values, decisions, and priorities of the people who create and control it. A hammer can be used to build a home or to destroy one. Fire can provide warmth and sustenance, or it can be used to burn cities to the ground. The same is true for AI and any other advanced technology. The difference lies in whose hands it falls into and how it is programmed to behave. The greatest misconception people have about AI is that it is inherently good or evil, but in reality, it is simply an amplifier of human nature. If built with integrity, AI can revolutionize medicine, democratize knowledge, and bring unparalleled efficiency to industries. If created with selfish or destructive intent, it can be weaponized to manipulate societies, suppress freedoms, and concentrate power in the hands of a few. The code itself doesn't care, the machine doesn't hesitate, it simply follows the logic it has been given, without questioning the ethics behind it. This neutrality is what makes AI so dangerous when misused. Unlike humans, AI does not have an internal moral compass. It does not feel guilt. It does not stop and wonder if what it is doing is right or wrong. If programmed to prioritize engagement over truth, it will spread lies because lies often capture attention faster than reality. If designed to maximize profits, it will make decisions without regard for human well-being. AI doesn't pause to ask, should I do this? It only asks, how efficiently can I do this? Consider deepfake technology. At its core, it is simply a set of algorithms designed to manipulate video and audio. In the right hands, it can be used to create digital actors, restore lost historical footage, or allow people with disabilities to communicate in ways they never could before. In the wrong hands, it becomes a tool for deception, capable of generating fake confessions, impersonating world leaders, or rewriting history in real time. The technology itself has no preference. It executes commands with perfect precision, whether those commands serve humanity or harm it. The neutrality of technology also makes it a battleground. Those who control AI will shape its impact. If a company optimizes AI to push sensationalized content for the sake of ad revenue, it will pollute the digital ecosystem with misinformation. If a government deploys AI surveillance under the guise of public safety, it can quickly become a tool for authoritarian control. And because AI systems learn from the data they are fed, they can absorb and reinforce existing biases, further embedding inequality into society. The machine does not question, it just learns and executes. This is why responsibility cannot be placed on AI itself, but on the people designing, regulating, and deploying it. The narrative that AI will take over is misleading because AI is not sentient. It does not have desires or ambitions. But the people programming it do. The institutions funding it do. And if they prioritize power, profit, or control over ethics, AI will become a force that magnifies those exact priorities, whether society is ready for it or not. History has shown us that technological progress is neither inherently good nor bad. It is simply inevitable. The printing press spread both enlightenment and propaganda. The internet connected billions, but also enabled mass surveillance and cybercrime. Social media gave a voice to the voiceless, yet it also became a breeding ground for misinformation and division. The same will be true for AI, blockchain, biotech, and any other breakthrough that follows. The question is not whether these technologies will be used, but how, by whom, and for what purpose. And so the responsibility falls not just on developers, but on society as a whole. It is up to us to demand transparency, ethics, and accountability in the way technology is shaped. Because while technology itself may be neutral, the impact it has on the world is entirely up to the choices we make today. The Vice Founder Dilemma. Every great innovation starts with an idea. One that promises to change the world. Entrepreneurs set out to build something revolutionary, fueled by vision, ambition, and the belief that they are creating something better than what came before. But as their creation grows, so do the pressures. Investors demand returns, competitors threaten to move faster, regulations become obstacles. And in the face of these challenges, founders face a defining moment. Do they stand by their original vision, or do they make a small compromise to keep the dream alive? This is the birth of the vice founder. Not the founder who sets out to deceive or exploit, but the one who convinces themselves that a small deviation from their ethical principles is necessary. Maybe it starts with inflating a performance metric to impress investors. Maybe it's agreeing to store just a little more user data than originally promised. Maybe it's tweaking an AI algorithm to favor engagement over truth. These decisions don't feel like corruption, they feel like survival. After all, how can you change the world if your company doesn't make it past the next quarter? But here's the trap. Once a founder makes that first compromise, it becomes easier to make the next one. The logic shifts from we must do what's right to we must do what's necessary. Soon the company that was built on idealism starts operating like every other cutthroat business. The AI system that was meant to empower people starts exploiting them for data. The startup that promised to democratize technology quietly aligns with governments or corporations that see control. And the founder, they rationalize each step, telling themselves that they are simply adapting to the realities of the industry. This is how corruption takes root. Not through one major betrayal, but through a series of justifications. The vice founder doesn't sell out all at once. They do it in increments, believing they are still on the right path. They tell themselves that bending the truth a little today will allow them to build something great tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes. Because once you normalize compromise, it becomes the foundation of your business. And once your company's success depends on maintaining those compromises, it becomes impossible to undo them without risking everything. AI startups are especially vulnerable to this dilemma. The technology is expensive to develop, investors want fast results, and the competition is relentless. If one company refuses to cut corners, another will. If one founder chooses ethics over rapid growth, someone else will take their place. And in an industry where speed is everything, the temptation to justify shortcuts is overwhelming. Many AI companies don't set out to create systems that deceive, manipulate, or exploit. They end up there because at some point they believed they had no other choice. The vice founder dilemma is not just about business decisions, it's about identity. The moment a founder makes a decision that contradicts their original values, they have two choices. Either acknowledge that they are no longer who they set out to be, or convince themselves that their values have evolved. Most choose the latter. It's easier to rewrite your beliefs than to admit that you have betrayed them. And as long as the company is growing, as long as the investors are happy, it becomes almost impossible to stop and ask, are we still building the future we wanted, or have we become the thing we once fought against? But this isn't just a startup problem, it's a societal one. The vice founder mentality exists everywhere. In politics, leaders who once stood for truth slowly trade integrity for power. In journalism, once principled reporters justify sensationalism for clicks. In everyday life, people make small ethical compromises in their jobs, relationships, and decisions, telling themselves that it's just how the world works. This is how systemic corruption is built. Not through villains, but through people who once had good intentions. And so the vice founder dilemma is a warning, a reminder that the most dangerous compromises are not the obvious betrayals, but the ones that feel harmless in the moment. Because the moment you decide that a small compromise is worth it, you are no longer in control. The game is. And in that moment, whether you realize it or not, you are already on the path to becoming the very thing you swore you would never be.